I'm Matt Harber, as everybody knows, and we're going to turn some mushrooms today. I'm going to turn a couple of different styles and sizes, and I may turn a section and then turn it off and turn something different. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just do what you'd like to do on your own mushroom, and you can leave the natural edge on, or you can take it off. I'm going to do both. I'm going to try to turn the base slightly off center. Because I want to show something that I haven't ever tried before, that I came up with in the middle of the night at some point. So let's have at it. I'm going to use this piece of, I think it's silver maple. Yeah, it might be Bradford pear, I'm not sure. It's a little cracked. I'm going to make this the top. I'm using a spring-loaded nail punch here to mark centers. So this one is going to be the top, and this is going to be my center. And I'm going to try to shift the base a little bit off center. So center here would be about this point, and I'm going to go here with it instead, about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or so. And you're more than welcome to do it on center if you want. For what I want to show, that's how I'm going to do it today. And then you just mount your piece between centers. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn a tenon to put it in my jawed chuck, and I'm going to turn it on this end here. And as you can see, it's slightly off center. And I've got it in here tight. Now I'm going to use, I have this little thing I made on my tailstock. It's got a big hole in the middle of it so that it fits over my quill. And the outer ring is for a recess. Who's that? I've got an echo. Somebody's got somebody's mic is picking it up. So I don't know who that is. All right, it's good. It's fixed. Okay. And the inner ring is for a tenon. So I'm going to be watching that while I turn this. All right. Tools I'm going to use today are standard tools, a deep fluted bowl gouge, a small deep fluted bowl gouge, parting tool, detail gouge, skew. Okay? And at any point, feel free to ask me questions about that too. Now I'm going to use my skew to true up my tenon here, and I'm undercutting this partly this way here, and I'm undercutting and I'm dovetailing this a little bit and flattening it out. So my motion looks like this, where I'm coming in, slightly undercutting this, and then flattening it out like that, rolling the tool. Let me move the camera a little bit. Still can't see it. Sorry. All right. So basically what I'm doing is I'm undercutting. If this is square, I'm undercutting it a little bit, and then I'm rolling the tool a little bit this way to flatten out the tenon. All right? All right. And then once you've got your tenon built, put it in, switch it around and put it in the put it in your jawed chuck. All right, how's everybody doing?
doing good, Matt.
Okay.
Huh.
And then bring up your tailstock to make sure.
I didn't see you use your little measuring rings that you had there, the wooden ones that you made.
I'm eyeballing it.
You're
Okay.
eyeballing it.
That's it. It's just sitting right here. I didn't, I'm just watching it while I made the tenon.
Okay.
So if I wanted to get crazy, I could take it off, take the tailstock off. Let's say I was doing a recess. Okay. The outer ring will fit into the recess when it's big enough. Okay. I don't want to make it smaller than my inner ring. Hope that helps.
Yeah, that's a neat little tool. Yeah.
Well, there's a thousand ways to do that out there, and some of them are real complicated and use like, metal indicators and they're screwed on, and people have tapped stuff, and I'm like, that's a lot of work. All right, I'm going to switch back to Zoom for a second and see what everybody's up to. You're not turning, Dave?
I am not. I'm a little under the weather today, so I don't get on my lathe when I don't feel right.
All right.
So
how you doing, Bob? You want me to wait for you to get all caught up, Bob? You're muted wherever you are. You want to wait for me to let you get caught up?
Just a moment. The kids cleaned the shop for me yesterday and left the lathe unplugged.
Okay. All right. Now there's a couple of different profiles here that I can show. This one here, I started off with leaving the natural edge on here, and then I turned it off. I started off using just a simple round cap, and then I added an OG in here. These fuzzies, I don't know if you can actually see that or not, but they're done with a skew, and it's just the heel of the skew, and I just come this way and don't turn them off. I just raise the grain a little bit. This doesn't necessarily work on all the woods. I'm not sure how it'll work on ash, Jeff, but I guess we'll find out. One of the things, and I've left the natural edge on the base here partially, but that's what that looks like. One of the things I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to leave the natural edge on the base, and then I'm going to do a little feature in here. I'm going to roll it underneath here to try and make it look like the mushrooms kind of is sitting on the base on the So we'll see how that works. That's why I've left my the base a little off center so that it's a little strange. All right. So the first, switch back to this. The first thing we're going to try to do here is, because I've got a cracked end here on this, I'm going to turn in a little deeper. I'm going to turn the top of my mushroom a little deeper. So that's what I'm going to do first, and I'm going to leave the bark on. I'm going to turn a simple round cap on the top. And I'm using my deep fluted bowl gouge. And when I go in, let me turn this off a minute. When I go in, I want to go in with the bevel cutting in directly like this. And the reason is I don't want to take off this bark. I want to try and leave that natural edge. So as long as I'm going in straight like this, and you could do this with a skew too, then I'm not touching my bark. I'm cutting in, I'm leaving the bark on. Now I'm riding the bevel, and I'm rolling the tool a little bit around. And this is my profile. Let me get this over here a little bit. This is the profile of my top on this. I still got a little crack, so I'm going to go in a little deeper. Now, because you want this to come around, you roll the tool towards the center so that you, as you're coming across, and if you want to, so I've got a really good cut. Now, when I make these, I don't sand them, okay? I just put them out with the tool finish on, and they sell. So now, leaving this cap as it is, if I made the bottom of the top here, this works fine. This works great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show, and you can do that on your motion if you want. Now what I'm going to show is I'm going to add an OG. So this is curving this way. I want to add an OG that comes in and curves up to it, okay? So that means I've got to start in a little deeper still. So now, instead of rolling the tool this way, now I'm going to roll the tool the opposite direction and then roll it in to meet in the center. So I now am curving out like this. And then I roll the tool in to meet the center. Now, if you want, let me switch to this one. If you want, you can get a shearing scrape on it by coming this way, doing a very light pull cut. And let me go back to this view. So now what I've got is I've got an OG that starts off
That's the red one.
this way, curving this way, and then curving back towards the center. And I can change where that is if I want. Let's say I want to go a little deeper. Let's do that. Maybe a little shallower. All right, so I like that shape. Let's stick with that. All right, there's my OG shape. All right, any questions at this point? I'm going to switch back here and check, see how everybody's doing.
How fast are you turning?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
What is your lathe speed?
I don't know. This is 1200 or so.
No.
Great, thanks.
Anything else? How are we doing, Ron?
We're doing okay.
Okay, buddy.
I got a birch branch I'm using, so we'll see how that works out.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Do I need to wait, Phil? How you doing? Let me see. I can't really see him very well. Bob has got different wood on there.
Yeah, the piece of wood I have is actually from a vine that grew on our neighbor's house and had been there for 45 years. And people come and cut it down yesterday. And it's beautiful wood inside.
Cool.
They also cut down a box elder. I got a box elder tree.
I have plenty of that.
It's just the tenon I need to mount this with. It just doesn't want to fit my little my chuck. I got pin chucks.
Oh, that's why I use a little tenon template. Not a problem. Let's see if I can see how Al's turning in there. I guess he's doing fine. You're just watching, Paul? I don't know what Phil's doing. Got no picture from Richard. How we doing, Jeff? All right, well, I don't know because Jeff is muted still too. He looked like he was dissertating.
The only problem with this wood is there's no pith at all because it's a vine.
It is what it is.
Yeah, and I've never turned them before, so.
There you go. Be careful.
I unmuted.
Yep. How's it going, Jeff?
It's going good.
All right.
I also got a Western red cedar.
Yeah, I'm sure we all do.
I've always had to buy mine. It got cut down, so now I don't have to anymore. I got a big pile.
Life is good. Ron's still working. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to work to keep the natural edge on the top, but you don't have to. You can take it off if you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my parting tool, my thin parting tool, or thinner parting tool, and I'm going to mark some places on this piece of wood. I'm going to mark my base. So my base, the bottom of my base will be about here. The top of the base will be about here. And I'm going to mark where the cap is. So the cap, I'm going to mark the cap here, the bottom of the cap here. And the reason why I do that is I want to make sure that I go in here in such a way that I don't tear up the bark, so that I can keep the bark on my piece. Now, one of the things you could do at this point is you could super glue the bits along here, along the bark, if you wanted to keep your bark, okay? And that would really help in keeping it on the piece. I'm not going to worry about that today, but you can do that yourself. So the bottom of my cap is going to be about here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's where my tool is. It's right here. So that's where I'm going to mark that with this. I'm going to only just go past the bark a little bit into the wood so I can see it, but that's what I'm going to do now. And now I'm going to mark the bottom of my base. And the reason I'm doing this, and I'm making sure that I've got enough room to part it off when I get there, and I'm going to mark the top of my base. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that when I get working on the stem, I don't get too focused on working on the stem and go past where I want to be. All right, so all I've done is with the tools is just gone in and marked these where they're going to be. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my bowl gouge, and I'm going to turn away a lot of this section in here, and I'm going to work from this part down towards this way. So I'm going to turn this, then I'm going to move down, then I'm going to move down, and so on. All right. And I'm taking light cuts here because I'm a little off center, and I don't want to run into my bark because I want to keep that on the piece. Now I've already lost some of the bark, but that's all right. I can cope with that. But you saw it fly off. But all I've done is taken it down a little bit to here. Okay. How's it going, Phil? How's it going, Ron? I can't tell. What's up, Jeff? You all right, Ron? What you eating, Dave?
Triscuits. Triscuits and iced tea.
There you go. Any questions, Al? How about you, Paul? Okay. You're muted, Al, so if you're talking, I can't hear you. How's it going, Ron?
I'm doing good, still cutting.
Okay. Do you want me to wait a bit, or are you good to go, or what's the scoop?
Well, go ahead and go, that's fine.
What's that?
I said go ahead and go.
All right.
Okay.
All right. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this down a little bit further, and then I'm going to show you how I did the fuzzies with the teal of the skew. Okay. So that's next. All right. Any questions at this point? All right. Now, I'm on top of this a little bit, so that I'm getting a slicing cut with the bottom flute of my gouge. Okay, now I'm going to take my skew and I'm going to start to undercut, and I'm going to be using the skew as a scraper, and I'm going to start to undercut the cap of my mushroom, and then I'm going to switch it over and cut up this way with the skew, with the heel of the skew. And then I'm going to switch back over and undercut a little more. And then I'm going to cut to that with the skew. Now you can see when I'm using the heel of the skew there that I'm starting to raise fuzzies, okay? Now you can remove this first. I'm going to remove this because it's kind of crappy. Now I'm going to get a smooth cut with the skew. All right, now what I'm going to do to raise the fuzzies is I'm going to cut with the heel of the skew, and I'm going to cut in a peeling cut along the shaft of the mushroom, along the stem. And in the course of that, it's going to start peeling back the wood. And I'm just not going to, and I'm going to get in here until it starts to cut. And then I'm going to keep the pressure on, and I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to go in and dig in a new cut and start it and peel it back. And raise another layer of the fuzzies. And another one. Now what that looks like is it looks like curled back pieces of wood underneath the mushroom cap like that. So if I say, okay, that's cool, that will be done there. Now the next step is to begin turning the stem more. So I go back to the other to my bowl gouge, and I begin cutting the stem. Now I want to make sure that, because I want to keep my fuzzies here, I don't want to cut into them. So I've got to be careful, take light cuts, and be careful to not get into the fuzzies. All right. I'm taking light cuts. And if you want, you can come this way a little bit. Again, being careful to not cut into your fuzzies. And then you can use your skew to undercut your little bit of fuzzy there, using it as a scraper. Undercut it like this. And then you can use the heel of the skew to get in there close, or raise more fuzzies if you want. And you just go until your stem, until you're comfortable with how thick your stem is. And I think that that's more fuzzies than I want, so I'm going to take some of them off. All right, so that's where I am now. And you don't have to do fuzzies. That's just something I like to do. How you doing, Bob? No comment. How's it going, Jeff? We good, Jeff?
What was that?
Are we good? How's it going?
Going good.
All right.
I'm not doing the fuzzies. I'm doing more of a traditional.
Add more power to you. You can also do these fuzzies. You can make Christmas trees with these fuzzies too. So it's it's an interesting sort of technique. I've seen people make fuzzy Christmas trees this way too. How's it going, Ron?
I'm still cutting away there, Mark.
All right.
I got a big piece of wood to cut down, I guess.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what the proportions of the stem to the base, you know.
Well, the short answer is I don't really worry too much about it because everything can be made to work.
Yeah.
So just make sure you've got enough room to part it off at the bottom. So leave plenty of room at the bottom to part it off. And if you're trying to leave the bark on, like I've done here, then make sure you leave room to, for the stem to hold the bark too.
Okay. Back on mute.
All right. Can't really see where Phil's at because he's a long ways away. How's it going, Phil? Any questions, Al? Any questions, Paul? Dave?
Oh, I'm good so far.
All right.
I like the fuzzy Christmas tree idea. I might try that.
Yeah, I did some of them at a demo, I don't know, at Performance Line before the pandemic shut everything down last fall. And the ladies really liked them. So, and I was doing just, small little branches. So I was doing, little branches, just scrap. And, I was selling them for like 15, 20 bucks each. And people were like, oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you can get these little string lights, little LED string lights, and they'll fit in between the fuzzies. You can wrap them in there. So,
oh, okay.
So, the little tiny, I ordered like 5 of them for a couple of bucks from some place.
Yeah, I've got some of those that I use on my display sometimes.
Okay. Well, you want the really tiny ones like they do for floral stuff.
Right.
So they'll fit between the little fuzzies and so on. But
yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of thing. Now, what I'm going to try to do here, when we get back, when some of the other guys get caught up, Bob's almost there. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to make this part, the top of my base, flat or flattish, and sort of curve this part down underneath to make it sort of bulbous. So I'm going to try and do a little something that looks like that on the bottom of the mushroom. Clearly not all the way through, God willing, but that's what I'm going to try to do here on this section here. So I'm going to start to curve this in towards the bottom of this where this all comes together. And the idea, and this is why I set this up as a little bit off center, is so that it sort of looks like it's on the ground and the mushroom is a little bit separated from the ground, if you will, from the base. All right, any questions? All right, now I can do that with a parting tool, or I can do it with a skew. I can smooth this part out here, so this is going to go away, and I can smooth this part out here. And let me switch to this, and switch to this. So when I'm gonna smooth out the when I'm gonna get a final cut on the base here, I'm going to get the tool like this so that the bottom flute is shearing. So it's rotating into the tool like this and shearing, and I'm going to pull it like this along the base to get a good smooth cut on it. And that looks like this, a good smooth shear. So, and I'm taking a very light cut. And I don't want the tool to vibrate much or move much, because I've got some some air. Some of what I'm turning here is air, and I don't want that to vibrate the tool too much. Well, that's interesting. On this piece of wood, I've been raising this a little bit, so I'm going to try and undercut that and trim that off. This is a skew, and I'm going in with the bottom flat parallel to my base here. And I can do that like this, and roll it in like, let me switch to the overhead view. So this face of my skew, oops, this face of my skew, the face on this side of the tool, is flat, lined up with my base. And I'm going in like this. And riding that bevel. And then I switch over to this section here and roll it into that cut. Now, if you're uncomfortable with using that tool, you can switch to the detail gouge. And my detail gouge is a repurposed spindle gouge with this ground a little steeper and the shoulders swept back a little bit. And it's a small 1/4 inch spindle, half-inch spindle gouge. And this tool is really great for rolling the bottoms of things like this. So I roll it in, and then I come back, I cut it in deeper like that. And I roll it into the cut like that. And then I come back and undercut it. And then maybe I want to go a little deeper here. Taking very light cuts. Okay. So what I've got now is this sort of look. Now, mushrooms don't have sharp edges usually, so I've got to round this off also. So I can do that with my larger bowl gouge. And in the process of get a good finishing cut here along the stem of my goblet. Stem of my goblet. Stem of my mushroom. Don't mind me. So I'm going to go back to my detail gouge a little bit here and round this off a little bit. Round this side off a little bit. So this is where I am right now. And I've got a little bit of cleanup to do on this face here, which I might switch tools to do that. Let's go back here. How we doing, Jeff?
Doing good.
How's it going, Bob?
Good. I just rechanged the centers on this, but this is so hard I can't use normal steel. I got to go to my carbide some, and
Yeah, it's hard.
I've never put it on the lathe before. I just got it yesterday.
All right, now at this point, I'm going to start thinking about parting this off. And let's see, who else? How we doing, Phil? We caught up? You can leave yourself unmuted, Phil.
Okay. I thought it was real loud. I didn't know.
How you doing?
I don't know. I think I've got it as much as I can. This is a really dry piece of wood. There was no way to get fuzzies on it.
Some woods work better with the fuzzies, like the fruit wood does. This
But I'm telling you.
walnut works pretty good with the fuzzies. Pine
This
does.
is a piece of very dry apple.
Apple's hard though. You're right. I agree.
Pine's easy,
Yes, it is.
especially I used to turn a lot of them for kids years ago. Little pine trees at Christmas time and on a mini lathe, and then I'd get them addicted to turning.
Yep.
It was in Boy Scouts.
There's a lot of that going on. All right. What do you think, Al? Any questions? You have to unmute if you want to talk. I don't even know if Richard's there. Are you there, Richard Meganic? Okay, he's there. I got a thumbs up. Okay. All I've got is gray screen.
Yeah. Can you see the tool I'm using?
Is that Bob
Or I
who's
need to
talking?
move the camera. Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, you've got one camera, Bob, that is not, you haven't shared the video on it. It's just your picture.
Oh, that's, yeah, it's the one that's at the lathe is what,
Well, we renamed that. Oh, you must have come. No. Oh, I see. Oh, you're here. I'm sorry.
yeah, you renamed it.
I lower the tip of the tool a little better. Or not. Okay. All right. How you doing, Ron?
I'm doing okay. I had a chip out when I was doing the base.
Okay.
I was trying to use my detail gouge, and I put a big chip out.
And you're fixing it.
I'm trying, yeah. So I don't know what's doing wrong with my detail gouge. Can you show me just the movement? You don't have to cut anything. I'm just trying to figure out what you're doing.
Let me switch over to do that. Cut. So this, and let me see if I can zoom in on it a little bit. Okay, so when I'm cutting in here in this way, I'm riding the bottom bevel and I'm just cutting almost straight into the groove. Okay.
Yeah, that I didn't have a problem with.
Okay. On this one, I get the bevel down on the piece, And then I start rolling it until and lifting the handle until I start cutting gently. All right.
Okay.
So and then as I roll into the groove, I roll the tool like that, so that I'm trying to ride the bevel the whole way. And as I get into the groove, I'm lifting the back of the handle so the tip of the tool is dropping into the groove. So so here I'm on top of it, and here I'm on center and almost riding the bevel going straight in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was trying to ride the bevel like that the whole way, I think is what I did wrong. So
well, I'm still riding the bevel here, but I start on the bevel and then I raise the handle until I start to cut. So,
no, I was doing I was doing it wrong. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Right.
So I start like this and I roll it into, so I'm getting like this sort of motion. Yeah, I'm gonna have to in there kind of deep. So in the same thing works, you can start going the other way and do the same thing as just rolling it this way. I'm going to try a different tool here. What this is a small bowl gouge. Okay, I don't know, ½ inch or so. It's got a reasonably decent flute, and I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, where I'm riding that lower flute and riding the bevel, and rolling it down through the cut like that. And I'm riding the bevel and cutting with the lower, the bottom flute. And the beauty of this is you're getting because of the steep angle, because the bottom edge of the flute is at a steep angle to the wood rolling into it, you're going to get a really good slicing cut, which is a good finishing cut on these pieces. So before I get much thinner here, I want to take off this end, the piece that's on the tailstock. So I'm going to do that next, and I'm going to adjust my tool rest a little bit so I can get in here closer. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to blend this cut across the top of this. Okay, and I probably should have done this earlier, but it's fine now. It's not too thin. But you want to blend the cut across the top of this mushroom, so it's not obvious that you had you came back to it and cut it. So I'm going to get close with the with my little parting tool, and then I'm going to switch to the detail gouge and make a finishing cut on it, and then I'm going to take the tailstock away. So that looks like this. I got to raise this a little bit. So I got to leave enough wood so that my finishing cut has some things to cut into. So I'm using my detail gouge now, and I'm slicing down with the edge into that end. And then I can come back and switch it and do this. It's probably off now. And that gets me a very nice smooth cut across here. And I can, if I've got a little rim or something in there, then I can come across it like that and make it all nice and smooth. And you can do this with the skew too, if that's your preferred tool of weapon of choice. If you want to make a finishing cut with it, you can take your big bull gouge and finish it like that, or you can sand it off, or you can just come across like that. So there's a lot of ways to do that. All right, how's everybody doing?
Oh,
Doing
surviving.
What was that, Jeff?
Doing good.
All right. How's it going, Phil?
I'm done on the top.
Okay. What do you think, Bob?
It's a dead mushroom.
How's your chip
In the
coming,
dark
Ron?
ages.
What's that? How's your chip coming, Ron?
Got the chip out. Now I'm just working on the rest of it.
All right. Do we need to wait a little bit, Ron? Oh.
No, don't wait for me. Keep going. I can always go back and
All
the video. All right.
All right. Any questions, Richard? Any questions, Al? Any questions, Dave?
Nope, I'm good so far.
All right. How about you, Paul? You're good. All right. Hand signals work too.
Yeah, I've made quite a few mushrooms, but I'm a little disappointed we don't have more people tuned into this. There's people in our group that I think really need to watch these things, and
well, it is what it is. It's Saturday morning. People.
Yeah,
are
it
doing
is.
things.
It is. But I know I'm not participating, but I watch simply to keep it going.
Sure.
I'm learning a lot, even though I've already made these things. You always learn something.
Well, good. Yeah, that didn't work.
And sometimes you learn something doesn't work.
But that is learning.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
You just learn another way of not doing something.
Right.
Interesting things here I've got going on here. So I'm trying to figure out. Okay. All right. So my next step at this point, because I've got my top of this is done, I'm happy with my little bulb here and my stem, and the top of this is done. If you felt the need to sand, you can certainly do it. But at this point, I'm going to begin parting off. Now I'm going to use my thin parting tool, and I'm going to make sure that I've got enough room, like 2 widths of the tool, so that the tool doesn't bog down or start to burn things. Now, one of the things that I like to do on these is I like to bevel the bottom a little bit. So I'm going to bevel this part of it a little bit this way, and then I'm going to start undercutting underneath the base a little bit, careful not to go through, so that I get a sort of a concave bottom so it sits, you know, on the little bit of bevel that's there. So that's how I'm going to do that. All right, any questions about that? All right. So I'm going to make my space. And I've got a little bit of bevel here. And I don't like that, so I'm going to turn it off. All right, so, and now I'm going to start undercutting my base a little bit to give it a little bit of a concavity underneath so it sits square on the table, doesn't rock around. Get ready to grab it. And there we go. So there's my little mushroom. It's on a little sort of a base. It's a little bit off center. So, and it'll, let me switch to this camera here. So it'll sit flat like that.
Very nice, Matt. Very, very nice. I like that.
And that's what I did it. Thank you. Yeah, it's got a couple different options in it, and I buzz off the bass sometimes with a Dremel, just a little buzz off the nub.
I like it being off center a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, it came to me in the night. It's the first time I've actually done one of those, so it turned out nice. It was a cool idea. So and you know, having the little bulb bit really kind of like it makes that work too. So, you know, because it separates the mushroom from the base a little bit, you know.
I see a couple of little tiny mushrooms on the outer lip of that base.
Yeah. And there's room for like 2 of them, you know.
Yeah, and a little gnome or gnome or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, good idea. Very good.
So lots of fun. So where are we at with questions? How's everybody doing?
Just
I'm just watching, Matt, but I'm learning a hell of a lot.
Okay, well, good. Any questions about what I've done, and any of the anything you know, any comments? I'm more than welcome.
Do you put finish on it, Mark?
Yeah, usually I just spray whatever I have at hand. Usually it's like spar urethane or lacquer. I you know, clearly, I mean, I did this in, you know, in a little less than an hour. I can make these really quickly, and my goal with these is to make them quickly and not have to sand them, and so I can sell them inexpensively. Okay. Nobody else is using branch wood for anything. These are great for branch wood that you can make them any size. I've made some out of 3/4 inch diameter U, and people love them too. So, you know, yeah, usually it's just whatever I have at hand, spray urethane, or I keep like lacquer sanding sealer here, rattle can. So I hit it with a couple.
They're not something that has to be perfected or perfect.
Yeah,
they can. It's a mushroom. It can be a little rough looking, and yeah, just whatever spray you got handy is.
And a
So
lot
that's
of
what I
people,
use.
a lot of people will put them like in their fairy gardens. Okay.
Yes.
Especially because they're not very expensive. So if you get them with 2-3 coats of spar urethane, they'll survive being outside for quite a while before it's a problem. So
Yeah, that's what I keep all my branches for, is things like that.
yep, exactly right.
And it works out. It works out good. Works out good. And then, like you say, you can. It's something you can sell fairly inexpensive and still make a little profit on it.
Oh, very nice, Phil. Very nice.
Except for the fact that it came off the lathe before it should have.
That's why the gods made super glue.
You got it.
Very nice, Phil. Very nice.
Thank you.
Nicely done, Phil.
I haven't turned mine off yet because I want to sand it down and.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
This one's pretty darn rough, but that's okay.
Well, and it's a good, I mean, these mushrooms are a really great thing to practice finishing cuts on, you know, because if you say, okay, I'm not going to sand it, therefore my finishing cut's got to be pretty good,
Yep.
you know, and you can do that with a skew or with the, you know, with the detail gouge or with the bowl gouge or whatever your tool of choice is. It's a great project to practice a finishing cut on, because you've got a couple of surfaces you can do that, especially if you're doing an OG in the top. You know, you got a couple of curves where you can roll through them with the detail gouge or the bowl gouge, and get a good finishing cut on it. So, and I've carved the tops of them and done things like dry brush the tops after I've carved them with, you know, use the Dremel, the rotary chisels to put a bunch of divots in the top and then dry brushed over top of it. You know, it takes another 10-15 minutes or whatever, and you're good to go. So there's a couple of things you can do. So
Kind of price.
Yeah, you want to take a look at mine?
sure.
I say it's a dead mushroom.
How do you know it's dead, Bob?
Yeah, man, I've got mine on my camera too, but I think maybe my top too thick there. I'm gonna have to.
That's okay. I mean, that looks good. I mean, that's decent. I'd say go
Yeah,
for it,
got it.
Ron.
I got a thin
I gotta
line
keep
down
working
here
on
at the headstock.
Yeah, your next one will be better, or one that, you know, more to your liking. And, you know, and you don't have to leave the natural bark on these too. You can roll around the top and so on. And
As a birch, mine was birch that was flying. The bark flies off at you while you're cutting, right?
yep, certainly.
It'll whip you too if it's really wet.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
this is wet and it whipped me. That's for sure.
And
Thanks,
speaking of-
Matt. That's great.
Speaking of which, is there I've got some wet spray on my laptop here. Is there any good way to get that stuff off of your laptop?
Denatured alcohol.
Alcohol wipes, yeah.
All right.
That might take your letters off the keys though too.
Yeah,
It's
don't
on
do it
the-
on the keys.
It's on the
No.
it's on the screen.
Yeah, alcohol wipes should be okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Sounds great. Thanks,
the
guys.
type I use is a diabetic, the little squares, and they come in a package.
Oh yeah.
If we ever meet again, I got tons of them. The VA keeps sending me 100 a month, and I only
We
they don't know there's only 30 days in a month.
We have those in the house, so I've got plenty. But I will certainly take you up on that, Bob, if we get a chance.
They also make a very thin plastic, a rubber membrane that goes over the keyboard and over the screen that protects everything.
I've got one over the keyboard, but this, you know, one of the things that I noticed Cindy Droz is doing is she's wrapping things in shrink wrap or
Yeah.
saran wrap. So that
That's
might
my
not
next
be a bad idea.
Use saran wrap on your screen.
In the future, I'm certainly going to. So, what do you think, Richard? Any comments? I know he's there because sometimes the shadows are moving.
Nope, I'm all set. Thanks a lot.
All right, Richard. Cool.
Presentation.
Yep. Any questions, Al?
Nope.
All right. All right. Thanks very much, Paul. Is he still here? Yeah, he is. Yep. Feel free, Paul, to question, send me questions or anything if you have them, email or Facebook mail or anything like that. If you get to turning and have any questions or something, you're confused about anything we did. And I think that Jeff, this is recorded, right?
Yes, it is. I should
All
have
right.
it on the next couple days.
So this will be up probably on the website too. So
Yep.
If there's any question. All right. We'll catch you later, man.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for jumping in. All right. Any questions,
Paul.
Ron?
No, we're good. Thanks.
All right. Let's see who else. I really like your mushroom, Phil. Nice work.
Thank you. We'll super glue, it'll be fine.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I could just take the whole thing off the chuck.
Yeah, you could.
Don't do this at home. I are a professional. There's mine.
Nice, Jeff.
Even undercut it a little bit.
Yeah.
That was an experience.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways to make mushrooms.
Yeah.
This is just how I make them, and I showed a couple different ways of doing things, and I've never done a little bulb at the bottom like I did the day before, so I like that a lot. So I'll have to work on that.
I like that, making it look like it's not part of the base.
Yeah, that's a really neat effect. I'm going to try that again. So good
What kind of
times.
price do you sell them for?
It depends on the size. I might, something like this, I'd probably sell for 30 or 20 or 30 bucks.
Okay.
If I'm at a show and it looks like somebody wants to buy it, but doesn't have that much money, I'll drop it the price.
Yeah.
The smaller ones go for 15 or 10. I've sent them as gifts, so.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, with this old wood, I don't know what I'm going to start with on grit.
What is this sanding you're going on about, Bob?
Well, yeah, 40 grit.
40 grit.
Well, this is that vine that had grown up over the man's house. The base of it was 2.5 foot when they came to cut it down.
I hear you. One of my goals with these is to make them quickly and preferably without sanding. So my thought process on this is I want to get a good finish cut on the visible surfaces so that I don't have to sand, so that I can sell them as is, like Dave says, because then I can make more in an hour and I can afford to sell them for less. So, and the world is full of branches that people don't want, so.
Yeah. I'm more apt to make my next one out of a branch rather than a baseball bat blank.
Yeah, right.
Pretty hard stuff.
Yeah, during summer or winter time at church bazaars for my brother's church, I'd always bring my mini lathe and would be able to just turn Christmas trees right and left and give them away. And we were able to get, at least in 3 different areas, a bunch of people involved in the local wood turning clubs that he's had churches at, from the UP all the way down to Jackson. But it's always been a tradition. I take my mini lathe and a bunch of stock, and their bazaar is usually a 2-day bazaar, one for church members only. They get first day is when people bring stuff in again.
That's great for charity, but if you're giving things away a lot, I mean, if you're doing it for a demo, and it's a tradition, that's fine. But if you're giving things away a lot, then you're undercutting people who are trying to sell things and make a living doing it. So it's I mean, I applaud that in certain circumstances, but it's, you got to be careful where you're doing that.
There's money that goes with it. I'm donating them, but they have all the churches have a box and they put, $5 donation on, and it goes to the church. In essence, I'm doing the work for the church.
Gotcha.
And
okay,
just
cool.
giving them to the church. I don't give them away. The only thing I give away are urns, because I cannot see making someone's family pay for their final resting spot. Some people do, but an urn, I just give them away. And I don't even know half of their names. They just come in through the VFW request.
Right. All right.
I got enough wood yesterday to turn another 10, 15 urns.
That's great.
And I've got a list of COVID victims that are vets. Right now, mostly from state of Washington, some from Idaho, 2 from Alaska.
No wonder I can't sell urns. You're giving them away.
Only to vets. And I don't even have to pay shipping. FedEx does it free. I have a special FedEx number I got.
Cool.
Right after Gulf 1.
All right, are there any other questions on the mushrooms?
Well, this is the first mushroom I ever turned that I didn't break.
All right. Well, hopefully you had fun doing it, Jeff.
Yeah.
And you haven't parted it off yet, so the night is young.
Yeah, I was doing great until I parted it off, so.
Oh, really? Well, thanks a lot. That really gives me confidence.
If I was 40 years younger, it's the first mushroom I haven't smoked.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, well,
that's a part of history we want to forget, right?
Depends on how you look at it.
You can't tell your kids or grandkids
until they're old enough to do it for themselves. Yeah, hey, Jeff, just make sure you're taking light cuts. I use the thinner parting tool because if I try to use a regular parting tool, it puts a lot of stress on the wood, and I tend to do exactly what Phil did. I break off a chunk of the bottom. So yeah, I use a thinner parting tool, and I take light cuts so that you crank up the speed, you can get in there real quick.
Yeah.
Just,
I use the bowl gouge, the swept back bowl gouge, and the parting tool mostly. I am not good with the spindle gouge. I have got to work on that.
Well, I don't use any spindle gouges anymore. What I use, the only spindle gouge I use is that detail gouge. It was once a spindle gouge that I reground. So, and it's, I love it because it's got a good steep angle on it. Let me switch back to VMix here and
like this one?
I can't see it. Hang on a second. Who's that said this one?
Phil.
Oh. Yeah, yours looks a little not as steep as mine is. Well, it's similar, but yeah.
Yeah, I have one that's steeper, but this one's fairly steep.
Yeah, I got one. This one here used to be a spindle gouge. Let me switch to this camera here. This one here, and find my little. This one here used to be a spindle gouge. So I reground, I made this angle steep, and like Phil did, I swept back the edges. Now and then I was watching Cindy Drozda, and she was making, the ones that she has are much steeper. So I took another one and I made it much steeper.
Yeah.
All right. And a little pointier. And then she also has her vortex tool, and I made one of those too, which is just, it's not a gouge, it's just got a flat on the top. And it's very thin. So I occasionally use that too. So
I saw Stuart Batty actually demonstrating that a few years back.
Very cool.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. I don't remember. That was a little bent. I remember how I did that.
Oops.
Yeah, here's one that I've used for my detail work. I like to have something that's strong. I got it on the other camera.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. How big is that? How big is that, Bob?
Don't know. I'll tell you quickly.
That's all right. It looks like it's at least, I don't know, 5/8. Good size. Yeah, having them strong is real necessary.
Well, it's in metric. Let me find out. I got to change the mode on my cow.
13
millimeter.
and a half.
13
half.
millimeter. Yeah.
About a half.
That's about the same size the rest of ours.
Yeah, that's what mine is.
Yeah.
But I like the thickness of it so I can have a long point, because I
Yep.
hate vibration. And that's what that's why I did the system for Carter. There's no vibration hanging 12 to 18 inches off the end of something. And that tool I showed you earlier, I can go 20 inches without vibration, but it
Yep,
sits
well,
up in my armpit to keep the vibration down when I hold it, if I don't put it in the hollow captive.
Yeah, that's real important, is to be able to do it without the vibration.
Well, that's what I use for my
strong.
urns, is to hollow the urns with. I want to hollow them quick. Simply take a drill bit and go down to put a core to the depth I want it with an extension on my drill press, and then I work on the outside.
Yep. All right. So any other questions or comments about the mushrooms or anything else that the demo has got going on?
I've got nothing.
All
Nope.
right.
Very good, Matt. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Phil.
very
Thank
much.
you thank everybody for coming and joining in. I hope you all learned stuff. And thanks, Paul. And I appreciate everybody, the compliments and everybody jumping in, and look forward to seeing more of them.
Thank you for helping us out today and hosting this.
My pleasure. All right. I don't have anything else, Jeff.
Okay. So that's pretty much it, everybody. We're a little shorter than 12 o'clock, but thank you all for coming.
Well, hey, we're here till 12. If I'm here till 12. If anybody wants to do anything else, I'm happy to.
Okay. So,
anybody want to see anything?
Hey, how about could you do real quick on the little Christmas tree thing you do with the shavings?
Yeah, you just start the shape, and then yeah, let me grab a hunk of wood here. Do it on this. Almost put a kink in my bandsaw.
uh-oh.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No. All right, I don't know if I'll have enough room to make a proper tenon on this, but it's going to be close.
Please change your camera view.
Yep, I'll get to it. Switch over here.
Thank you.
All right, I got this gnarly piece of wood here. Get plugged in here. All right. Do this. Hopefully I haven't screwed up the tenon. Bang it around in here. Yay. Okay. All right, now you just basically have to set up your your tree on a downward slope. So I will get that going because I've got some cracks up here. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna make the top of my tree say, well, that's not even connected. Now, because I'm going to be putting some pressure on this, I want to keep the tailstock in place.
Right.
As long as I can. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the skew, and I'm going to cut with the heel of the skew, and I'm going to cut down to the top of that. Well, I'm losing some of it because of the wood. Yeah.
It's all right. We're getting the idea.
Yeah, you just basically into the shitty part of the wood.
That is a cool effect, though.
It is. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got all sorts of potential. I'm just using a parting tool here. And you part it off.
Very nice.
Yep.
Cool. Oh, there it goes.
Yep, wherever it is now. Get my magic, get shit from behind the lathe stick. Gotta find it. I don't know where it is. Oh, there it is. So that's the general idea.
Real cool.
Like that.
Yep. So, and I did that really quick with with a really junky piece of wood.
But you could also leave a little bit of bark around that base also.
Yep. I mean, there's a little bit of it here. So
yeah, I see that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to have to try. It'd be something easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, and that was like a, you know, a 2-inch piece of wood, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a $10 or a $5, you know, or a giveaway item, you know.
It is.
You know, it's just this little Christmas tree. You know, and
Like
you can
it.
do that out of pine or anything.
A trick that I saw done years ago, and I didn't think of it until just now, but I was in the DC area wood turners. I belonged to them when I worked for Uncle Sam. And one of the people were making them for the holidays, and they sprayed them down with pine sol. The pine sol, as it would soak into the wood, would make it smell like pine. If you
Great
use
idea.
bathroom sprays and stuff like that, the odor or scent doesn't stay with it. So the pine sol, it actually soaks into the fiber itself, and you can smell it. Enough so people will buy it. That's what he said.
Well, I know my grandmother used to clean with pine sol, and the house would smell like it for days afterwards.
Yes, weeks.
Yeah. Kind of a homey smell.
Yes. My mother and my grandmother were big into the pine sol business, man.
And borax laundry detergent.
Yes.
20 mil team.
Yes, sir. 20 mule team. Yep.
But that's not a detergent. People tend to think it was. I did too, but my grandmother used it all the time. But
yeah,
because detergents give you the bubbles and stuff like that, it didn't really clean. So the borax was a cleaning agent for my grandfather's pants, because he was a professional woodworker, and he worked helped building the Masonic Temple here in Detroit. Is actually a big woodworker and a wood turner. Did a lot of the turning there.
wow.
And he'd come with all of his clothes were really bad. But that's who I learned to turn from. But that was back in 50.
How do you guys use borax? Do you
59?
use it as a bleach?
No, it's just a cleaning agent.
Yeah, you can use it just like the laundry detergent.
Okay.
Just throw a scoop in your washer.
It's a powder that helps break down the dirt and the oil.
Got it.
So if you use it with another soap.
I don't even know if they sell borax anymore.
Oh, they do. They do.
Do they?
If you do the forbidden technique of Lichtenberg burning, the original solution you use to help the conductivity is baking soda in water.
Oh yeah.
But that darkens the wood when you do it. So if you use borax and the conductivity, and it doesn't darken the wood.
Interesting.
Ah.
So not that anybody's doing that, and especially not me.
I'll be right there. Hey, Paul, come here. Say hi. We're online.
I don't even have room in my shop to put one of those.
You want to hit the other camera? I got a guest here.
I take my glasses off so you can see who it is.
Oh, it's Paul.
Oh, Paul. It's Paul. Turn him off. Turn it off, quick.
Oh, you're having a demo this morning?
Yeah, where you been?
Not on his email, apparently.
I haven't looked at my email the last couple of days. That's why I forgot this is going on.
There you go.
So I got two cameras hooked up. That one, and this one.
That one right there.
Right. And this one looking at the ceiling, but that doesn't do any good.
Bob is not choosy about his friends.
No, there's an echo somewhere.
Sometimes you can't.
Well, he's a friend because I got a big lathe. Is he a friend of the lathe?
I'll be right back.
And with the COVID, he couldn't come over because the VA was very fussy as to, I'm not supposed to be near anybody because if I get it, I've gone because of the problems I have with Agent Orange. So Paul used to be here a lot of the time, and we'd work on this lathe or have the
the other, the 36 that I had ahead of before this one, the Jet. So when it happened, I packed up the Jet and had it ready to go. So he come over and I said, put it in the back seat of your car, so because you can't come anymore, and loaded him up with tools and a chuck. And so he's been turning at his house, but if he wants to turn something big, like he likes the big bowls, the maple bowls and walnut bowls, he sells them. He's got to use this lathe. So he scheduled time to come out and set it up. So this will be over because I've got a Sydney Drozda class that somebody paid for me to go today. I think I know who, one of the other members of the class. But that comes up here in a little while. Well, all I got to do is finish the top off and then hit it with a finish of some type. Take off some of this top and clean, take the bottom, the stub off the bottom.
Yep. And, well, enjoy the class this afternoon, Bob.
Oh, I really did. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Anything else?
I'm good.
You got mushrooms and Christmas trees, Dave.
Yeah, I'm good.
Mushrooms you can't smoke.
Of course, Dave sat there munching.
I don't even eat mushrooms. So.
Oh, I love mushrooms.
Mute that. The echo is driving me crazy. Very nice, Phil.
And that's why it came off the lathe. It just pulled the whole piece right out.
Oh.
It didn't break it. It pulled the end grain right through.
Fascinating. What kind of wood was that? Walnut?
Oh.
Okay. Interesting. Good to know. Pulled the end grain through. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why Don Doyle makes rubber chuckies, I guess.
Right? Yeah, rubber chucky on the other end would have been my typical way of cutting it off, I think, but I don't have those up here.
You know, it would make sense to me. I mean, there's a number of folks who travel to cottages and so on and have lathes at them. I mean, Ray Fraze is one of them. It would make sense to me to have like a care box, a care toolbox that you travel with when you're going, your basic lathe tools, a rubber chucky, an extra chuck, a live center, that kind of good stuff. So,
well, I'm pretty close to having everything I need up here. I had to find it all this morning, though.
Very cool. Very cool.
I don't think I've turned up here in over a year, so.
Bill, where is up here?
Tawas area.
Aha. Thanks.
About 20 minutes west of Tawas on a string of 7 lakes.
You're near Hale then too,
In
huh?
Indian River, I'm looking for someone that would turn up here. Haven't been able to find anybody yet.
Well, have you checked into there's a Traverse City Club, Paul?
That's Traverse City's 2.5 hours for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Whatever, the senior club, I don't know what they call it in Hale. They actually own a big lathe and nobody seems to really know how to use it. So it's sitting there for people to use. And there are a couple of people, I guess, that get together and do some turning. So I know there's some group, there's a small group in Hale at the senior center.
Check it out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, if you're up in Indian River, do you ever go to Vivio's restaurant? Is it still there?
It is still there, doing fantastic. Before COVID, we were there a lot, at least every week. Yeah, Kurt runs a great shop there. They're doing a good business with carryout business, but yeah,
Vivio's is one of my favorite restaurants in the state of Michigan. Finest Italian food up there.
It's for sure the best pizza up here.
Yes, absolutely.
Good people.
Well, if there's nothing else on the mushrooms or any questions for Matt, we should probably call it a day. And I'll work on getting this up on YouTube. Probably the next couple days.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Thanks,
Sounds great,
Matt.
Jeff.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's been great, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you again, Matt.
Yep. Please,
Good job.
if anybody has any questions on anything, please feel free to contact me. I'm more than happy to answer anything anybody has. So by all means, please contact me. So.
Okay. Goodbye.
Good weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks very much.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.